The night everything fell apart was an ordinary Wednesday. My comfortable, predictable life suddenly felt like a carefully crafted lie. I'd gotten home earlier than usual, and the sound of Ava's footsteps echoed from our bedroom. Heading upstairs to say hello, I caught her voice through the slightly open door. As I approached, her words came into focus. "Yeah, babe, today was incredible. I loved every moment." I stopped short. Ava never talked like that about work. The door stood ajar, and instinct pushed me to glance inside. She was mid-change, phone still pressed to her ear. As her skirt hit the floor, I caught sight of black lace underwear, ones I'd never seen before. I almost stepped in, but her next words nailed me to the spot. "Okay, I should go. He'll be home soon. Talk tomorrow, handsome." She ended the call, slipped off her blouse, and stood there in a matching lace bra. As she peeled away the last layer and headed for the shower, she paused in front of the mirror. Of course, she'd check her reflection. From where I stood, the view was clear. What I saw stopped me cold. A bruise on her left bosom, one I didn't put there. Her eyes widened as she spotted it. "Damn," she muttered. "Gotta cover this up." Unbelievable. The shower sputtered to life, but I couldn't move. I stood there trembling, the floor suddenly unsteady beneath me. "My name's Alan Berkman. Ava and I have been married for 23 years. We have 2 kids, Sydney, 19, and Liam, 18. She works part-time at Devon Station, while I'm a chemical engineer. Until that night, I believed our life was solid, even enviable. Clearly, I'd been fooling myself. Once I gathered my wits, I stepped into the bedroom and grabbed her phone, hoping to check the last call. Locked. We'd never used passcodes before. I realized it had been months since I'd last touched her phone. Her blouse lay on the bed, carrying a faint trace of shaving cream. Not mine. That was the breaking point. I marched to the kitchen, grabbed a DVR, sealed her underwear in a Ziploc bag, and stashed everything in the garage. I set the DVR to record, hiding it beneath one of my ties. Nearly invisible. Downstairs, her laptop screen glowed. Perfect. I tried accessing her email, but it too was password protected. Another red flag. Neither of us had ever bothered locking our devices before. Conflicted, I left the house. Without proof, confronting her would get me nowhere. I dialed her number, knowing she was still in the shower. "Hey babe," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Work's a mess. I'll grab dinner out." After securing the evidence, I headed to a dive called Riverside Tavern nearby. The place was run down, but quiet, perfect for thinking. A new bartender, Naomi, served my gin and tonic. She was friendly, easy to talk to, and casually mentioned being a single mom trying to make ends meet. The conversation offered a brief, welcome distraction. I got home around 11. The house was silent as I slipped into my robe. Ava stirred. "You're late." "Yeah," I replied. "Long day. I'll make it up to you if you're feeling neglected." She sighed and turned away. "Too tired. Maybe in a couple of days." "Deal. Sleep well." "Night," she muttered, already drifting off. I retrieved the DVR and watched the footage. After her shower, she'd gone straight to the mirror, examining the bruise. Then she pulled on flannel pajamas. Strange, since she usually slept without clothes. I saved the video, wiped the camera, and raised the thermostat 4 degrees. Let's see how long she'd keep those flannels on. Thursday morning, I left early, avoiding conversation. I called in late to work and rang my friend Leon. He'd been through hell during his divorce after catching his wife cheating. Now it was my turn. "Leon," I said when he picked up. "I think Ava's cheating. I need—" "Jesus, Alan. I'm sorry. Come over. We'll figure this out." An hour later, I left his place with a plan. And 5 digital recorders, the same ones Leon had used to uncover the truth. Back home, I planted 4 recorders around the house and reserved one for her car. While combing through her closet, I found clothes I'd never seen before. Bolder, flashier, definitely not work attire. In the back of a drawer, I uncovered ripped lingerie, not worn out, torn like someone had yanked it in a hurry. The sight alone made my stomach churn. Later that day, I called her voicemail. "Hey babe, stuck at work, home late tonight." That evening, I slipped the final recorder into her car and waited until she was asleep to review the recordings. Nothing yet, but patience was my only option. By Sunday morning, after breakfast with the kids, I disconnected the Wi-Fi and left a note. "Breakfast's in the microwave. Out back cleaning the yard." 2 hours later, she stormed outside, frustrated. "Alan, the Wi-Fi's down." Inside, I pretended to troubleshoot while she hovered, visibly anxious. Once she stepped away, I installed a keylogger to monitor her emails, passwords, and screenshots. When everything was set, I reconnected the Wi-Fi. "Fixed," I said, showing her the browser. "But your hard drive's sluggish. Hit this button tonight, and it'll run a cleanup." Her smile returned. "Thanks, big guy. How can I make it up to you?" I grinned. "Wash my car." Her expression fell. Definitely not the answer she expected. I kissed her cheek and walked away, reminding myself to stay cool. She couldn't suspect a thing until I had rock-solid proof. That night, we watched movies with the kids. Eva was unusually affectionate, snuggling close and flirting. It was clear she was in the mood. Halfway through, I excused myself, grabbed a drink, and one of her sleeping pills. It had knocked me out in 45 minutes. 15 minutes later, she nudged me. "Hey, don't fall asleep." I stretched and yawned. Exhausted. "I'm calling it a night." Her disappointment was obvious, especially when the kids asked for another movie. I slipped into bed and passed out cold, unaware of what the next day would bring. Sunday was meant to be my day to sleep in, but I found myself wide awake at 5 a.m., restless and uneasy. The thought of facing Eva was unbearable. Morning closeness was practically routine, and I couldn't fake affection. Quietly, I switched off her alarm, slipped out of bed, and headed downstairs. I powered up my laptop, knowing I had to tread carefully. Avoiding her completely would raise suspicion. While the keylogger booted up, I secured my computer with a password. Buried in a hidden folder were over 500 emails. 2 from 6 months back caught my eye, both from someone named Isaac Garcia. His email address was tied to a private domain, and the messages seemed work-related at first glance. A colleague, perhaps, or the other man. I filtered the inbox by sender and found an email from 4 months ago titled "Hey Beautiful." It wasn't explicit, but definitely flirtatious. A quick domain search turned up nothing, just a registration with no active website. Sorting by date, I discovered 6 messages from old Isaac, all sent the previous day. No wonder she guarded her laptop so fiercely. I opened the most recent thread. Eva had complained about the bruises he'd left, and how hard it was to hide them from me. His cold reply stung. "It happens. Get over it. Forget your husband." 14 minutes later, she'd responded. "I know you don't love your wife, but I love my husband. I never wanted to hurt him. It's bad enough I barely let him touch me lately. I'm not meeting you Wednesday." Her so-called love didn't soften the betrayal. The following emails reveal him backtracking, apologies, promises to be gentler, even suggesting a getaway. He sounded like a lovesick teenager. Her final message hit hard. "Glad you understand. I only travel with my husband. No Wednesday. The marks should fade in a week, and then I'll focus on making it up to Alan. Making it up to me." As if that would undo the damage. They'd been meeting at a motel for at least 2 months. One email even revealed the location. Room 187 at the Bridgeview Motel, right across from Riverside Tavern I'd been to recently. Then, another email popped in. Ava had just sent it. "I can't stand a week without you. Let's meet Wednesday at 1 p.m. Just be more careful this time." His reply was instant and nauseatingly enthusiastic. You're incredible. I'll make it perfect. That was it. I needed backup. I forwarded the damning emails to Leon and headed to the kitchen to make breakfast. Around 9:30, Ava strolled downstairs, stretching with a satisfied smile. "Thanks for letting me sleep in," she said, kissing my cheek. "Fair's fair," I replied, forcing a smile. "I did crash pretty early last night." She hugged me from behind, her lips brushing my ear. "Don't work too hard today, babe. I'll need you working hard tonight." I shrugged off the innuendo. Almost done outside. As I turned to leave, I caught a flicker of concern in her expression, quickly masked once she saw me watching. While tidying the garage, Leon called. "Got a minute?" "Yeah," I said, stepping into the driveway. "What's up?" "I read the emails, man. I'm really sorry. At least now I know," I muttered. "But it won't hold up in court." "True," Leon agreed. "Photos of her entering the motel would help." "Not enough," I snapped. "I want undeniable proof, something they can't talk their way out of." Leon sighed. "I know the motel owner, Russell. If I tell him it's for an investigation, he'll let us in." "Perfect. Can we set up surveillance like you did with your ex?" "Absolutely. Motion and sound-triggered cameras. The footage will stream to a nearby receiver. You can access it right from your car." "Do it," I said without hesitation, "and dig up everything you can on Garcia. I want the full picture. On it, we can have everything set up by Monday or Tuesday." For the first time in days, I felt a sliver of control. The rest of Sunday passed quietly. Ironically, I found myself looking forward to closeness that night. Why not? I thought bitterly. Garcia might have tainted it, but I could reclaim it on my terms. Later, as we lay tangled in the sheets, Ava nestled into my chest and whispered, "Alan, I love you. You're the only man I'll ever need." I kissed her forehead, swallowing my fury. How dare she say that? "Going to rinse off," I murmured, slipping out of bed. In the bathroom, anger bubbled up, hot and sharp. Her words weren't careless, they were calculated. When I returned, she was fast asleep. I climbed into bed, silent and seething. Monday morning, I slipped out before sunrise and headed straight to Leon's place. "Got news," he said, waving me inside. "Garcia isn't just cheating with Ava. He's a serial player. Brings different women to that same room. Thinks he's slick, but using the same location repeatedly. Idiotic." My jaw tightened. "Anything else?" "The motel manager, Russell. Can't stand the guy. Says Garcia maltreats the staff. Works from the room a couple of days each week, but never before 11 a.m. Leon grinned. "Let's make our move." We loaded up the surveillance gear and headed to the Bridgeview Motel. Leon introduced me as part of the investigation. The manager, Russell, didn't hesitate. "I hate dirtbags like Garcia," Russell muttered, tossing us a room key. "He treats everyone here like dirt." "Mind if we stash a receiver nearby?" Leon asked, eyeing a nearby service room. Russell nodded. "I'll get you a key. That room's hardly used." A quick call to Garcia's room went unanswered. Perfect. We headed upstairs, knocked twice, then unlocked the door. The room was empty. I froze, staring at the rumpled bed where my wife had betrayed me. My stomach turned, but I forced myself to move. 2 hours later, cameras and recorders were discreetly installed. As we packed up, something on the desk caught my eye. A docking station. "Look at this, Leon," I said. "He must use his laptop here." Leon leaned in. "If he leaves it while grabbing lunch, I can slip in and install spyware. I'll camp out here every day if I have to," I muttered. "But first, GPS on his car. No surprises." "Let's not rush," Leon cautioned. "We'll get him. No mistakes." "Agreed." I sighed. "Let's grab lunch, my treat." "How about across the street?" Leon suggested. "Decent food. Bartenders friendly." "Works for me." Riverside Tavern was nearly empty. "Naomi," The bartender smiled as we walked in. But when she spotted Leon, her expression shifted from warmth to shock. Dropping her bar towel, she hurried around the counter, ignoring me entirely. "Leon," she cried, throwing her arms around him. "I can't believe it's you." He hugged her back, grinning. "Naomi, looks like you're back on your feet. Glad to see it." "Not fully," she admitted, laughing. "But I'm getting there." "Thanks for everything, Leon." I cleared my throat. "Naomi, meet my friend Leon." They both chuckled. Naomi squeezed my arm. "I liked you from the start. Knowing you're Leon's friend, even better." I smiled. "He's a pain, but mostly harmless." She laughed. "Maybe that's just a guy thing." As she tended to other customers, she kept drifting back to chat. I learned more about her. She was saving for medical school, planning to start in 5 months. Her determination was impressive. By 2 p.m., the bar had emptied, leaving just the three of us. Naomi glanced around and shrugged. "Daytime's always slow," she said. "No tips, but at least I get some study time. Chatting with you guys is a nice break." We kept the conversation light for another hour, until Naomi's expression turned serious. She glanced at Leon and quietly said, "I'll tell him." Leon gave a solemn nod, and Naomi shifted her gaze to me, her face tightening with emotion. "If we're really going to be friends, you deserve the truth. Maybe you'll walk away after hearing it. And I get that. But I'd rather you hear it from me than someone else." Her eyes brimmed with tears as she gripped Leon's hand. "I met Leon the day he arrested me. He threw me into a filthy holding cell. I fell apart when I spotted the camera in the corner, but he didn't care. Just locked the door and left. Then something changed. He came back, saw me sobbing, and paused." Her voice cracked. "He started yelling, told me I was throwing my life away, called me an idiot. No one had ever talked to me like that. But it hit home. I collapsed onto that disgusting mattress and cried like a kid. Leon just sat down next to me and asked one word, 'Why?'" Naomi glanced at Leon, her voice softening. "For the first time in my life, I told someone everything. I didn't hold back. I don't even know how long I talked, but he didn't interrupt once. When I finally ran out of words, he squeezed my shoulder, locked the door again, and left me there for 14 hours. Her lips quivered. The next morning, he took me to court. My lawyer didn't say much, just went through the motions. The judge was ready to send me away when Leon stood up, full uniform, calm, confident. He told the court that prison wouldn't fix me. Rehab might." Naomi gave a bitter laugh. Everyone froze. I was a repeat offender, guilty as hell. But here was this tough cop vouching for me. The judge hesitated, but eventually gave me a choice: 90 days in rehab or 4 years behind bars if I messed up. I didn't even blink. I took rehab. Turning to Leon, she whispered, "I've been clean ever since." She stepped back and added quietly, "I'm not on the streets anymore, but I'm still working. It's the only way I can save for school and take care of my daughter. If that changes how you see me, I get it." Before she could say more, Leon and I embraced her. "As long as you keep fighting, I'm here for you," Leon said firmly. I nodded. "I'm glad we met, Naomi. You've got a friend in me." She clung to us, silent tears trailing down her cheeks. That evening, Ava came home carrying Chinese takeout. She leaned in for a kiss, but I sidestepped and grabbed the bags instead. "Great," I said. "We're starving." Her smile flickered, uncertainty creeping into her expression. I kept my tone light. "Why don't you change while I set the table?" Her face paled. She hesitated, but nodded and quietly headed to the bathroom. Dinner was tense. The kids picked up on the mood but stayed silent. Ava barely touched her food, throwing out awkward conversation starters I mostly ignored. Then it hit me. I was playing it wrong. Sunday night had been special for her, and my coldness now would only make her suspicious. I forced a smile. "Sorry." Work's been getting to me. Let's hit reset. How was your day? Relief flooded her features, and she launched into a casual rundown of errands and office gossip. I nodded, smiled, pretended like everything was fine. Later, once she'd gone to bed, I checked the recorders. Nothing new. I turned up the thermostat, got ready for bed, and slid under the covers, keeping my back to her. "Good night, sweetheart," she murmured. Without turning, I asked, "Why the flannel sweater?" "It's not cold." Silence. Then quietly, "I've just been feeling chilly at night." I rolled over and pulled her close. Her skin was damp with sweat. "You feeling all right?" I asked, pretending concern. "Not really," she whispered. My hand brushed over her chest, grazing the spot where the bruise had been. "I can think of a few ways to warm you up." She froze. "Alan, I'm sorry. I'm just exhausted." I released her. "Okay." Ava nestled into my side. "Last night was amazing, but today wiped me out. I've got a light day Wednesday. Let's make it special, okay?" "Sure," I replied, voice flat. Tuesday morning, I left before sunrise. Mid-morning, Leon called. "Tracker's live," he said. "Slapped a GPS on Garcia's car last night. Here's the login." I checked immediately. Garcia's car was parked across town. I told my boss I had to step out and drove home to check the recorders. The first recording hit like a gut punch. Ava was on the phone with her friend Diana. "Ash, I had the best sex this weekend," she gushed. Diana chuckled. "With Isaac?" "No," Ava sighed dreamily. "With Alan. Sunday night, it was incredible. Like nothing we've had in years." "What changed?" Diana asked, sounding genuinely curious. "I don't know," Ava admitted. "We didn't do anything new. It just clicked. His touch, the way he held me, it was perfect. Better than Isaac," Diana teased. Ava didn't hesitate. "Oh, absolutely. Alan makes love to me. I feel safe with him. Isaac? He's just sex. Fun, sure, but I'd never want Alan to treat me like that." Diana laughed. "It's the thrill, the wildness of it. That's why I started seeing Brandon Cook last year," Ava confessed. Brandon Cook, another man. My head spun, and Diana. She was a cheater too. For a moment, I wondered if I should tell her husband, Adrian. Would it destroy him like this was destroying me? But hadn't I just judged him, assuming he knew about Isaac, and stayed silent? He deserved the truth, just like I had. I decided. Adrian would get the recording, but only after I finished dealing with Garcia. Diana's next call, early Tuesday, had a different tone. "You sound off," Diana noted. "Everything okay?" Alan noticed the flannel pajamas and the closed bathroom door. Ava muttered. "He asked about it last night." I lied, said I was cold. But the room was like a sauna, and I was sweating all night. I don't think he believed me. "Did he push?" Diana asked, voice softening. "He tried," Ava admitted. "But I couldn't let him see the bruise. I promised we have a special night Wednesday." He didn't seem convinced. We just lay there afterward like strangers. Her sigh was heavy. And the worst part, the whole time I kept thinking about Isaac, not Alan. That was it. I saved the recording, shut the laptop, and headed straight to the motel. Garcia's car was parked outside. It was lunchtime. I crossed the street to Riverside Tavern, but Naomi wasn't working. Peeking through the window, I spotted Garcia, alone in a corner booth, flipping through the menu. This was my moment. I walked up to Garcia's motel room, knocked twice, and slid the key into the lock. The room was empty. Ignoring the disheveled bed, I headed straight for the desk. His laptop sat open, QuickBooks filling the screen. Plugging in my flash drive, I installed a keylogger, skipping the screenshot feature and focusing solely on email activity, web history, and stored files, especially his accounting records. If Garcia was involved in anything illegal, I'd find it. Once the keylogger was active, I enabled remote desktop access and slipped in a lightweight control program disguised under his domain name. It would look like he'd installed it himself from the motel's network. After hiding the program icons and returning the screen to QuickBooks, I quietly exited the room. Back at the office, I tackled my usual tasks, surprisingly calm. The power of control was obsessive. That evening, I returned home in high spirits, helping the kids with homework, and chatting with Ava like everything was perfectly normal. At first, she looked uncertain, like she was bracing for conflict, but as I kept up the act, her nerves settled. Around 10 p.m., she stretched and gave a soft smile. "I'm heading to bed," she murmured. "All right," I said, pretending to focus on my laptop. "I've got a little work to finish. See you in the morning." "Sure," she said quietly. "Rest up," I thought bitterly. "Gotta be ready for your lover tomorrow." There was still hours worth of data to sift through. Recordings, spyware logs, intercepted calls. But not tonight. Instead, I focused on the footage from Ava's dashcam, quietly downloading it before returning the recorder to her car. By the time I climbed into bed, she was either fast asleep or faking it. I settled on the edge of the mattress, mind already racing about what the next day would bring. Wednesday morning, Ava was up before me, which worked to my advantage. The thought of her heading off to cheat again made my stomach churn. Knowing I'd soon see the proof only made it worse. Downstairs, she was already plating breakfast when I walked into the kitchen. Dressed sharply for work, she flashed a bright smile. "Perfect timing, love. Good morning," she chirped. I grunted in response, pouring coffee. Her smile faltered. "You're usually in a better mood. Now you know how I feel most mornings," I replied coolly. She blinked, caught off guard, then forced a laugh. The kids wandered in, and she quickly slipped into mom mode, chattering about school and errands. I stayed quiet, watching her steal worried glances my way. When she set my plate down, she hesitated, eyes narrowing. "Alan, is something wrong?" I shrugged. "Hard to say." Without warning, I pulled her into a tight hug. She melted into the embrace, her body relaxing as she sighed against my chest. "I love you," I murmured. "Can't imagine life without you. There's no woman I'd rather make love to." Her heart raced. "Of course, Alan. I love you too," she whispered, tears welling. "I'll prove it tonight. I'm going to wear you out." I stepped back abruptly and walked out the door without another word. I drove straight to the motel, downloaded the surveillance footage, and headed home around 9 a.m., thoughts swirling. How was I supposed to act like everything was fine, knowing what I'd soon uncover? While the recordings transferred, I paced the house, restless and bitter. Facing Ava that night seemed unbearable. I started with Garcia's emails. Within hours, I had a clear picture of the man. He operated 3 companies, each selling overpriced goods to military sites, Fortune 500 companies, and government agencies. He was also juggling affairs with 5 women, Ava among them. I copied his QuickBooks files and captured login credentials through the keylogger. 6 corporate credit cards stood out, each with complete account numbers listed in the expense reports. Then I turned to his phone calls. One involved a Devon Station employee complaining about duplicate serial numbers on shipments. Garcia's irritation was obvious. "Fix it," he snapped. The new audit system's a nightmare. Another call revealed his corrupt side. A desperate supplier pleaded for a contract. Garcia finally cut him off. $5,000 cash gets you $100,000 in sales. Just bump your prices 2% to cover it. The supplier hesitated. "How do I get you the money?" "I'll tell you where to meet," Garcia replied coolly. 2 days, and your proposal gets approved. But the call that hit hardest involved someone from the station's purchasing office feeding Garcia confidential bid prices, insider trading, plain and simple. And of course, there were the personal calls. Ava's voice drifted through one recording, sounding far too intimate. Even after everything, hearing it still hurt. I organized everything into folders, one for Ava, one for Garcia. Video, audio, documents, backups for each. It was time to loop in Leon. When Leon answered, I laid it all out. He listened quietly, then sighed. Alan, this won't hold up in court, but it makes my job easier. We've been tracking procurement issues at Divin Station for months. Missing inventory, duplicate serials, substandard materials. You need to see this for yourself, I said. Can you come to my office? No, my place. 3 o'clock. We'll go over everything. Then drown our sorrows over dinner. Leon's tone hardened. I'm driving. You're drinking. Deal. The plan was simple. Get wasted with Leon and avoid Ava until morning. Then reality hit. It was nearly 1 p.m., her meeting time with Isaac. I called her phone. Straight to voicemail, of course. She wouldn't want to talk now. I left a brief message. Headed to Leon's, back late. With time to spare, I reviewed more footage. Monday morning, Garcia greeted another woman with a kiss. They barely made it past the door before hitting the bed. I saved the clip. Tuesday, he slept with 2 different maids, morning and afternoon. I copied those 2. At 3 o'clock, Leon picked me up. We pored over the evidence, drinking until time blurred. That's the last thing I remember. Thursday morning, I woke around 9. My head pounded. The house was silent. On the kitchen table sat a note. Since you were too drunk to set your alarm, don't expect me to be your wake-up call. Figure it out yourself. I chuckled darkly. Perfect. An angry Ava was easier to avoid. Calling in sick, I drove to the motel to retrieve the surveillance footage, the one I'd been dreading. On the way home, Leon called, his voice tight. The investigation's moving quickly, he said. The supplier who paid the bribe agreed to wear a wire. We've pieced together how Garcia and his team pull off their thefts. A preliminary report's already on the station commander's desk. He paused. Military police will search Garcia's office, motel room, and home soon. Make sure your keyloggers are wiped. Already handled, I assured him. Good. The search will happen in about 10 days. Can you hold off confronting Ava until then? We can't risk Garcia getting spooked. I was about to agree when Leon dropped a bombshell. The leak, feeding Garcia inside info. It's coming from purchasing. Ava is now on the list of persons of interest. I almost laughed. That's insane. Ava doesn't steal. But then I froze. Hadn't I once believed she'd never cheat? Swallowing my rage, I promised to check in tomorrow. Back home, I wasted no time downloading the surveillance footage from the motel. Hours of nothing passed until the timestamp hit 12:30 p.m. My heart pounded as I pressed play. Garcia appeared first, swinging the door open. A moment later, Ava stepped inside. Without hesitation, they embraced, kissing like teenagers. Take it easy this time, she murmured against his lips. Clothes hit the floor fast. They tumbled onto the bed. I muted the audio, stomach churning, and turned to my second laptop, remotely accessing both their devices while they were distracted. By 5 p.m., they began to stir, giving me nearly 4 hours of uninterrupted access. As they shuffled awake, I quickly logged out but kept the live feed running. Ava blinked at the clock, then shook Garcia's shoulder. Isaac, it's past 5. We dozed off. He groaned, rubbing his eyes. Dan, I told my wife we have dinner tonight. Ava smacked his arm playfully. Don't bring her up. I already hear enough about your family. Don't act like you're not part of my life, he teased, pulling her closer. Her expression softened. Sorry. I love my family, but sometimes I can't help feeling jealous. Garcia ran his fingers through her hair. I like pretending you're mine. Ava gave a faint smile. I chose to be here with you, but I do love my husband, and I can't risk losing him. I need to make things right at home. He nodded. Same here. My family's everything. As he stood, he winced. Dan, my shoulders are on fire. Ava gasped. "Oh no, Isaac, I scratched you. I didn't mean to." Garcia cursed under his breath, inspecting his back in the mirror. "Damn it, Ava, you really tore me up." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm sorry, we just lose control." "Apparently," he grumbled, tugging on his shirt. "Let's get dressed. I need to head out." They dressed quickly. Garcia kissed her cheek, squeezed her waist, and whispered, "See you soon, beautiful." Ava kissed him back, then left the room. From my vantage point, I watched her trudge to her car. To the world, she looked like someone leaving a long workday, but I knew better, and she'd pay for it. Thursday and Friday blurred together as I balanced my job with my side projects, each moment bringing me closer to the inevitable fallout. Thursday afternoon, I intercepted a call from Ava to Garcia. "Isaac," she began, voice strained. "This has been fun, but I can't keep doing this. I'm ending it." "What?" Garcia snapped. "Why now?" "It's getting too complicated," Ava said firmly. "Alan's distant, and I won't risk my marriage for this. We're done." They argued for a few minutes before Garcia sighed in defeat. "Fine. Talk soon." "No," Ava murmured. "Goodbye, Isaac." She hung up without another word. Late Friday night, I finalized everything. I transferred files, wiped logs, and disabled the keyloggers. Before signing out, I accessed Ava's computer through Garcia's, making sure the login traced back to the motel's IP address. As a final nail in the coffin, I forwarded all of Garcia's active bid proposals to Ava's work email. From an investigator's perspective, it would look like she'd been leaking sensitive information. Sunday afternoon, I returned to an empty house. I collected the voice recorders, wiped them clean, and packed them alongside the one from Ava's car for Leon. After unpacking, I poured myself a stiff drink, trying to settle my nerves. Not long after, Sydney and Ava returned from grocery shopping. Liam joined us to help unpack, and the evening passed quietly. No one mentioned my supposed business trip. Monday morning, I struggled to concentrate at work until an 11 a.m. call from our family doctor's office shattered my focus. "Mr. Bergman," the receptionist said, sounding unusually serious. "Dr. Chung needs to see you immediately." My stomach nodded. "Why? What's wrong?" She hesitated. "He'll explain everything." "Can you come in today?" "Fine. I'll head over now." Dr. Chang's expression was grim when I entered his office. "Alan, I need to run some tests." "This is important." "Tests? For what?" I demanded. "Just tell me, Doc." He sighed, removing his glasses. "Your wife came in this morning, complaining of feeling unwell. The test showed she has 3 sexually transmitted infections." I froze. "She insisted you were her only partner," he continued. "So we assumed you were the source." My voice sounded foreign, detached. "Test me now." The staff avoided eye contact as they prepped the lab. A nurse drew blood with a needle that felt unnecessarily large. An hour later, Dr. Chang returned, shaking his head. "Alan, you're completely clean. I owe you an apology. Your wife clearly wasn't truthful." I exhaled slowly, anger simmering beneath the surface. "Thanks, Doc. We haven't been intimate for weeks. Now I know why." He handed me my results just as my phone buzzed. "Sydney." "Doctor, excuse me," I said, answering quickly. "Sydney, what's wrong?" Her voice broke with tears. "Dad, Mom told us you cheated and gave her an STD. How could you?" My grip tightened on the phone. "Sydney, I'm standing in the doctor's office. I'm clean. Here, talk to Dr. Chung." Without hesitation, Chung took the phone. "Sydney, this is Dr. Chung. Your father tested negative for everything. He didn't infect your mother." A moment later, Sydney's muffled sobs came through the line. "Dad, I'm so sorry." She sounded so sure. We believed her. "It's okay, sweetheart," I soothed. "Tell Liam the truth, but don't say anything to your mom. I'll be home soon." At the front desk, The receptionist silently handed me my test results. Then, almost as an afterthought, she slid another envelope across the counter. I must have made a mistake. Looks like I accidentally included your wife's results too, she said with a faint smile. I nodded, understanding her intent immediately. Ava wouldn't find a sympathetic ear when she returned for treatment. Pulling into the driveway, I spotted extra cars. Ava's parents. Perfect. Inside, the air was thick with tension. My father-in-law's booming voice cut through the chaos. You fool, he barked. You cheated on my daughter and gave her a disease. I'll break you. He was tall, broad, and still powerful from his years in the mines. I had seconds before he swung. I stepped closer, locking eyes with him. If what you think is true, you'd be right to hit me. But it's not. His brows furrowed. He hesitated. Explain. Fast. Wordlessly, I handed him my test results. He read them once, then again, and again. His anger drained into disbelief as Ava's sobs grew louder in the background. Finally, he looked up. You're clean. My daughter has an STD. Someone else gave it to her. She lied. She cheated. Exactly, I said quietly. We haven't slept together in weeks. That's why I'm clean. He clenched the papers in his fists, veins bulging. Alan, I'm sorry. I jumped to conclusions. Thanks for listening, I muttered. My marriage might be over, but at least you know the truth. He nodded, shoulders slumping. We need to talk. I grabbed his shirt, slamming him against the table. No, this conversation happens on my terms. She's your daughter, but she's my wife. And she dragged you and the kids into this mess. Sydney called me in tears. I don't even know what Liam thinks. I released him, stepping back. You're only here because Ovid involved you. But this is my family. Stay out of it. Got it? His jaw tightened, then relaxed into reluctant respect. Yeah, Alan. Got it. We stepped into the living room together. The moment Ava saw me, she erupted, her voice clashing with her mother's frantic shouts. In the corner, Liam sat slumped forward, tears silently falling down his cheeks. Sydney darted around her grandfather, rushing straight into my arms. Dad, I love you, she whispered. Liam hesitated for a heartbeat, then stood and joined us. They clung to me as Ava sobbed, and her mother hurled insults. Sydney's hand brushed against the papers I held. Is this the proof? I nodded, jaw tight. Without hesitation, she took the reports and pulled Liam closer. Together, they scanned the damning words. Alan Bergman, negative. Ava Bergman, positive for 3 STDs. Their eyes met, and they squeezed me tighter. Sydney turned, fury hardening her face. Mom, she snapped. How can you still yell at Dad? He didn't betray us. You did. Ava's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably. Sydney spun to face her grandmother, thrusting the reports into her trembling hands. The older woman's eyes widened as she read, her shoulders sagging under the weight of realization. Ava glanced up, wild-eyed and defensive. Why is everyone treating me like the villain here? This isn't fair. Sydney stepped forward slowly, holding the papers high. You lied to us, Mom. You cheated on Dad. You betrayed our family. Ava gasped, her face twisting with rage. She lunged, hand raised to slap Sydney. But Sydney was faster. She caught her mother's wrist with ease, her gaze sharp and cold. Don't you dare, she hissed. You lost the right to discipline me the moment you tried to destroy our family. The room froze. Sydney stood tall, voice steady despite the tremble beneath it. You'll always be my mother, and I'll always love you, but you turned us against Dad with lies. I'll never forgive you for that. Without waiting for a response, she turned and hugged me tightly. Liam joined us, silent and furious. Across the room, Ava sat frozen, wide-eyed and desperate. Kids, please, Ava pleaded, her voice cracking. Your dad infected me weeks ago. He probably got treated in secret. I begged him for closeness, and he kept pushing me away. Her desperation rose. I never cheated. He's lying to make me look bad. I've been faithful since the day we met. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating. My father-in-law's face darkened, fists tightening. It was time to end this. I stepped toward Ava, ignoring everyone else. This is your last chance. Tell the truth or I'll show them the proof. For a moment, her lip quivered. Then, like a cornered animal, she lashed out. How dare you? She screamed. You have nothing, because I did nothing. Show this so-called proof. I didn't blink. Fine. I walked to the cabinet, retrieving my laptop. Ava's bravado flickered as I connected it to the TV. While Ava had been with Garcia, I'd used one of his company credit cards to register a domain and set up a website. It was time to reveal it. Looking her dead in the eyes, I asked, You ended things with Isaac last Thursday, right? Her sneer returned. You're insane. There's never been anyone but you. I opened an email and projected it on the TV. Recognize this man. Isaac Garcia. The color drained from her face. No, he sent me a link to his site. I said calmly. You're featured front and center. Turning to Sydney and Liam, I added, You two should head upstairs. Sydney crossed her arms, defiant. No, she dragged us into this. We're staying. Liam glanced at the screen. Dad, if you send us away, I'll find the site myself in 5 seconds. I sighed, defeated. He was right. He'd caught the URL already. All right. I muttered, clicking the link. The screen flickered to life, revealing the deep blue background. A cold male voice spoke. Welcome to the lovers of Isaac Garcia. Ava gasped as a slideshow of women appeared, each photo fully clothed but unmistakably intimate. The voice continued. Here are the married women I've seduced. Every encounter is recorded. Like what you see. Message for high-definition footage. None of the women know they're being filmed. The fourth image froze everyone in place. It was Ava. She wore a gray business pantsuit, one of her regular work outfits. The cursor hovered over her picture as the voice announced. Meet Ava, mid-50s. Curvy, plenty of footage available. Click here for previews of Ava in action. Full videos upon request. The room plunged into silence. Ava stood like a statue, face pale, hands trembling. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Staring at the screen, she whimpered, No, this can't be real. I clicked her image. 8 video thumbnails appeared, each labeled with dates and brief descriptions. Ava's eyes widened. She recognized the settings, the positions, the undeniable truth. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Her mother rushed to her side while her father stood rigid, as though he'd been punched in the gut. Liam's fists clenched, Sydney's face twisted with fury. I think we've seen enough, I muttered, stepping back. Not enough. Sydney snapped, eyes blazing. Videos can be faked. I want the truth. Before I could stop her, she snatched the mouse and clicked the first video. The screen flickered, buffered, then played. The room filled with harsh breathing and whispered promises. Sydney recoiled, hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God, this is disgusting. How could you? Tom, Liam, stood silent, his entire body trembling. Ava sobbed into her mother's shoulder, the reality crashing down. Determined, Sydney clicked the next video. Ava's cries grew louder, the weight of her lies crushing her. Sydney reached for the third thumbnail, but I caught her hand. Enough. She froze, then nodded, tears streaking down her face. Without another word, she threw her arms around me. Liam joined us, silent and furious. Ava's parents stood helpless, while Ava herself clung to her mother, broken beyond repair. After a long moment, I broke the silence. Why? Ava choked on her sobs. I don't know. I'm so sorry, Alan. God, I'm so sorry. I exhaled slowly and handed Liam the car keys. Kids, get out for a bit. Dinner's on me. Need cash. Liam shook his head. We're good. We'll be back later. Sydney wiped her face, just grabbing my purse. Once they left, I turned to Ava and her parents. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Ava, we need to talk. You too, I nodded at her parents. Stay. She's going to need you. I wandered the streets aimlessly, the crisp air failing to calm my nerves, but sharpening my thoughts. By the time I returned home, the house was eerily silent. Everyone sat around the kitchen table, their faces hollow and drained. Ava stood the moment I stepped inside. Alan, she murmured, eyes red and swollen. Thank you for coming back. I nodded and gestured for her to sit down. We've got a bigger problem. Her face blanched. I leaned over the table. Garcia was arrested this afternoon, I stated flatly. Her breath hitched. Leon's investigation exposed the whole scheme. Fraud, blackmail, kickbacks. The entire operation unraveled. Silence stretched across the room. Ava blinked rapidly, tears welling again. Her parents sat rigid, expressions carved from stone. His office, his companies, even the motel room. Raided, I continued. 2 more arrests followed. One guy from logistics, another from procurement. I stood, eyes locked on hers. And there's more. Leon uncovered emails from your account. Messages leaking contract details and competitive bids straight to Garcia. Her head jerked up wild-eyed. That's a lie. I never did that. Her mother's voice cracked. How can we believe you now? Ava's sobs grew louder. I exhaled heavily, exhausted beyond words. You're not in custody because you're my wife. Leon bent the rules to buy you time. If you're not in his office tomorrow morning, they'll issue a warrant. I leaned closer. If you're guilty, you're looking at federal charges. Her scream ripped through the room. I didn't do it. Alan, I know I lied. I cheated. I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe prison would be fair for everything else. But I never leaked classified information. I studied her face, searching for deception. Was this another lie? Ava, I asked quietly, did you ever bring your laptop to his motel room? Her face crumpled. Yes, sometimes I worked there while pretending to take personal days. I'm so sorry, Alan. I clenched my jaw. Personal days. To cheat. She flinched but nodded. Did you ever leave the laptop unattended, open, connected to Devon Station's network, while you showered or napped? Her breath hitched. Oh my God. I never thought. How could I be so stupid? Without another word, I grabbed her laptop, powered it on, and immediately cut off the Wi-Fi. I had to move fast. One of my final acts while accessing her computer remotely had been scheduling an automatic email blast, designed to make it look like Garcia had sent out confidential files. With the internet disabled, the emails hadn't been sent. Feigning confusion at the login screen, I asked, "What's your password?" Her face twisted with shame. Garcia. I let the weight of her betrayal hang in the air before responding. Ava. He installed remote access software. He could see everything, control everything. Her head snapped up, horror etched into every line of her face. He set me up. Looks like he wanted more than just your body. I leaned over the laptop, pretending to search. Good thing I broke the internet, I muttered. There's a scheduled task here, set to blast emails to your entire contact list. Family, friends, coworkers. Ava collapsed into her chair, burying her face in her hands. Oh my God, he's punishing me for cutting things off. Her mother wrapped an arm around her, whispering useless reassurances. I sighed. This might be enough to clear you. 3 heads snapped up. Her father, who'd once been ready to knock me flat, now looked more confused than angry. This proves Garcia had remote access, I explained. It's possible he sent the leaks himself. If you're innocent, the logs will show his IP address during the transmissions. Ava wiped her face, nodding mutely, a flicker of hope sparking in her exhausted eyes. But I wasn't done. One more thing, I added. While I had access to Garcia's system, I installed surveillance software. I copied all his personal videos onto his hard drive. As far as the authorities can tell, he recorded everything himself. Her father inhaled sharply. Wait, you mean the videos are now admissible evidence, I finished. Garcia won't just face fraud and embezzlement charges. He'll be hit with illegal surveillance, extortion, and invasion of privacy. I leaned back, letting it sink in. I also uploaded recordings of his blackmail threats. Leon already has them. It's game over. Months later, Garcia stood convicted on multiple counts: fraud, extortion, racketeering. The IRS launched an audit into his undeclared earnings, and his wife filed for divorce just 2 days into his sentence. A week after the conviction, Leon and I found ourselves at Riverside Tavern, where Naomi used to work. She'd landed a job in Devon Station procurement, allowing her to finally start night classes for medical school. I nursed a gin and tonic, swirling the glass idly. Still owe you for the borrowed surveillance gear, I joked. Leon waved it off. Forget it. Besides, we blew $1,500 each at the casino yesterday. That's punishment enough. I chuckled, taking a sip. This gin's not as good as Naomi's, but it'll do. At that moment, Adrian walked in. He looked wrecked. Hollow eyes, slumped shoulders, the gait of a man who hadn't slept in days. I told him where to find me. Sooner or later, the truth always drove people here. Without a word, he sank into the seat across from me. I slid a flash drive across the table. Everything you need, I said quietly. Recordings, emails, videos, the whole mess. Ava Diana, it's all there. Adrian stared at the drive for a long moment, then downed half his drink in one gulp. Turning to Leon, his voice wavered despite his steady tone. Leon, he muttered, I need to rent some surveillance gear. Leon sighed, rubbing his temples. And so the cycle began again.